Modern Western philosophy, Edmund Husserl. Edmund Husserl is regarded as the founder of modern phenomenology. But it is important to keep in mind that Edmund Husserl was not the first philosopher to use the term phenomenology in his works. Philosophers such as Kant, Hegel, etc. have referred to the term phenomenology in their philosophical works much before him. Husserl is regarded as the father of the modern phenomenology because he was the first one to develop phenomenology into a systematic philosophical method. He was the student of Franz Brentano and he was highly influenced by the empiricism of David Hume. Some of his significant works are: number 1, The Idea of Phenomenology; number 2, Logical Investigations; number 3, Cartesian Meditations; number 4, Philosophy as a Rigorous Science. Philosophy as a rigorous science. The aim of Husserl's career was to transform philosophy to a rigorous science, meaning a philosophy based on science which is absolutely presumption-less. He rejected both the natural and social sciences on the premise of naivety, meaning they are based on presumptions. He intends 4 things when he talks of transforming philosophy into a rigorous science. The 4 things are: number 1, reject materialistic reduction, that is, the analysis of the physical objects done by sensory terms like ideas and impressions. Number 2, reject scientific theories of positivism and naturalism. He rejects positivism and naturalism because they take objective world for granted without knowing whether it is possible or not. Number 3, reject psychology and naturalism because they are concerned with the consciousness but only from an empirical point of view. Number 4, reject historicism, for, according to Husserl, it is in itself inconsistent. Hence, according to him, philosophy can only be established as a rigorous science when it is based on phenomenology, because it is the essence of philosophy to be scientific in nature. Phenomenology and the phenomenological method. The term phenomenology comes from 2 Greek words: phenomenon, which means appearance, and logos, which means reason or study. So, phenomenology means the study of phenomenon. Now, phenomenon is anything that exists of which the mind is conscious. According to Husserl, phenomenology is the investigation of the essence or the nature of material things that appear to us in the world. Phenomenological method is Husserl's method to understand the phenomena. According to him, phenomenology attempts to describe or understand what is given to us via experience without taking into consideration the preconceived assumptions or notions or hypothetical speculations regarding it. Hence, he conceived phenomenology to be presumption-less or speculation-less science. In short, phenomenology, according to him, is the science of all sciences which deals with understanding the phenomena via the experiences of the self or the consciousness. In other words, phenomenology is the study of phenomena which includes all the things in the world which are given to our consciousness. It is also a method with definite goals and has inspired other methods like hermeneutics and existentialism. Lastly, it is conceived as transcendental idealism, which means the self or the consciousness is the source of all meaning and all knowledge. Hence, Husserl's motto is back to things themselves. Intentionality. According to Husserl's pure phenomenological or transcendental phenomenological method, consciousness is always intentional, meaning it is always conscious of or about something. In other words, it is not directed towards itself but towards phenomena. So, intentionality of consciousness means that consciousness is an activity. It is an act of doing something, or it is an act of experience. Therefore, It is an act of knowing, which is why it is called noesis. At the same time, according to Husserl, it is also always referential in nature, meaning consciousness is an act of awareness in which the subject is always presented with an object, and that is why it is called noema. For example, when we think about a pen, it deals with both noesis and noema, because we actually think of defining the pen, that is noesis, and the pen is also a referent, that is noema. Phenomenological reductions. According to Husserl, there are three types of reductions. Number one, phenomenological reduction. Husserl advocates phenomenological attitude according to which reality is not separable from the subjective experience of it. This process is called phenomenological reduction. In this, he suspends or brackets the natural attitude and all the prejudices that are associated with the nature of the reality of the world. This act of bracketing is also called epoche, which allows consciousness of our experience of reality of things. Thus, phenomenological reduction is a phenomenological method that only concentrates on pure consciousness, on our conscious acts, and brackets all the other things. Number 2, Eidetic Reduction. According to Husserl, Eidetic Reduction deals with bracketing the individual existence of the object in question. In other words, phenomenology is only interested in essence and not particular things. So, eidos or essence is taken into consideration in Husserl's philosophy. Hence, we move from facts to essence and understand that objects are not material things but essences. In other words, according to this method, the phenomena has a structure, a unity, due to which the objects are not just material things but essences. Hence, it is only due to eidetic reduction one is able to know the meaning or the essence of things as they appear to the subjects or the consciousness. Number 3, Transcendental Reduction. In this stage of reduction, Husserl attempts to isolate the understanding of the ego from the natural attitude. Ego within the natural attitude is understood as a non-physical entity which is causally interacting with the physical objects in the world. So, he brackets ego and affirms that the existence of ego is a psychological reality. He says pure ego is the necessary prerequisite for experience. With the transcendental reduction of the empirical ego, we enter into the domain of meaning, not the consciousness of an individual human, but the essence of meaning making.